keep playing from those storm positions, just working on recovering those early assets they lost.
Depending on what position your trio's in, it can be better or worse to kind of play purposefully on that congested side, where you can kind of be on the defensive end of all the trios like Vico, Veno, Flixie rotating in late. However, on the contrary, if you already got your surge early on, didn't have too many problems, then you can go deeper into zone. But for Prism here, it looks like they are low on hard materials, so something might not have went their way earlier on, but we'll see how they're able to play it.
Following back up with Nebs, Pink, and Kiro in their journey through this first lobby, tagged up a bit as they make their entrance towards the zone here at Utopia City. Got a good amount of materials though, Takada. It's largely just about setting up, clearing out space. They want to be the ones kind of holding teams on the edge of zone, but they know from Mongrel, Keto, and Higel, head on a swivel type of behavior. You can never really let up your guard. Other teams, meanwhile, stuck inside the bases they've created here. A little bit north of Foxy, Floodgate, Noms, and Mystic. They recognize Kiri, Prism, Casper, taking a good chunk of the lobby focus right now. Net neutral with their position right now.
Ooh.
Need to recover some shield. Yeah, this is bad news bears right now for Vico and Veno.
Good shots though from Vico. It's going to be enough to get Rift's reason to play a little safer. Issue is with more than enough heals now. Once again, the 3v2. They've done enough damage, but they're on the hunt for loot. If you look at Veno's materials, it's only a matter of time. I don't know if this is a trio you want to be fighting, but this actually might be a golden opportunity. If an engagement begins, it could be a good opportunity to join the party.
They're spending so much time. They have to win this fight now. Shaco's gonna get knocked. Storm Surge ticks clearly the issue. That's a big reason why Savage's team is being so heavily aggressed into. But now Veno, Vico, recognizing that the third party's there, they want to see if they can turn this in their favor. Potentially even the odds here if they can find a knock onto one of the members from Savage's trio. But Savage closing in onto Cora, not going to allow that opportunity to go to waste. And with 3 eliminations intact, Reason, Chab, Savage, they're just going to take their goods and pretty much bounce. They don't have a reason to stick around for Veno and Vico.
Yeah, their main focus now is rotating the zone safely while conserving as many heals and materials as possible. It's going to be all about positioning. Quite a difficult rotate with the amount of trios that are already going to be at the zone. And if you have people like Peshka and this trio kind of looking at you taking shots, it's going to be even worse. Sometimes you can purposefully take some shots at trios in front of you to force them to build and then use those materials that they already placed to kind of follow them into zone. But Peshka this time around is going to try and play the completely safe route and use a bit of environmental cover to make it into zone.
Smart truce there. It's like kind of the unspoken one on those rotates. The reason being, though, is that a lot of traffic really picking up around the edge of zone, and Pink's team, bit of trouble here, but overhead, it's Atreides, Kano, really feeling the burn right now. They've got to make a decision, and they got to make it quick. They can't just sit here continuing to tank these Storm Surge ticks. Paul Atreides, the last member from his team, and unless he comes up with an insane shot, Kiro, Nebs, Pink, they could have had that one, but they'd rather focus on the positional rotation. Takada, seasoned competitors, they know better than to get caught up. What's one elimination matter where you can get plenty more if you have a good spot that you're in?
Looking from the top-down view, seems like Veno and Vico have made it into the zone, but with 4 HP onto Veno, not too many more materials, 106 above. We know that something has to be done sooner or later. The good news is, though, zone has been pulled, and they'll have a bit more time to plan their next attack.
all. Veno and Nico are just doing everything they can to survive right now, Takada. You want to keep a low profile, but they know only 77 above that damage threshold, and more importantly still, they just have to get a refresh. The Siphon, even the hero rank up, would just do volumes. But that opportunity, it's going to be slim. They're not going to have many chances to get open shots onto the competitors in this lobby. They're really just waiting for some of these other teams to get a move on first, but Cammy, Barry, and iDrop elevated themselves and just kind of looking back, trying to keep their composure. Well, they've got a fixated position on height. Just gonna... Oh man, iDrop just punished immediately, but lucky for him, we are in a landscape where it's a little bit easier to just lobby focus out teams like Veno instead. And it just keeps getting worse, Takada. I feel like the longer we watch,
the worse it gets.
The more difficult it's going to be. And yeah, there's no defensive measures left to take. Storm Surge, everything that could have gone wrong in this one definitely did, but opens the doorway now for another team to try and take over. And Reason, Savage, Chap, big part of the problem there for Veno's team this game. Now looking to have a conversion, but Cammy, Barry, iDrop, despite their good positioning, they haven't managed to maintain their surge.
Looking in terms of height, that 7th to 8th zone is kind of crucial, because if you do end up pulling towards the side of the zone it's moving to, it's going to give you kind of that opportunity to hold on to it. But we've seen time and time again, if you hold on too early, a few unlucky zones, a few double pulls in the furthest direction could be enough to use all your materials up. So a lot of success comes from taking height a bit later on. With Squeezy in the lobby though, height is never going to be safe. And so far 207 above, good amount of materials, looking like they have the opportunity to make a solid endgame performance here.
It's not often you'll see Squeezy at eye level with everyone else, but we are just waiting for the doorway to essentially open up here. Mustache, Squeezy, Swizzy, Misform, gonna start to make their way towards that secondary height position. Keto, Hydro, and Mongrel look as if they're trying to take over the high ground, but with the way that the zone is starting to pull towards a natural elevation here on this mountain span, Hydro, Keto, and Mongrel, they're going to be some of the first to move towards it thanks to these dash sprites, but at the same time, Takada, they've got to keep an eye out for other teams with the same intentions.
Yeah, Clownski up above, looking to see if they can hold it. This is a perfect zone if it ends up pulling back to the mountains, which it sort of did, so could be a huge opportunity to hold on. 104 above, but now shots are going to be connected through. The issue is for the players down below, you have to plan, even if it doesn't pull towards the mountain, if it's possible that it can pull towards the mountain, you have to be prepared on how you're actually going to rotate that, whether it be mist form, dashes, anything conserved for these more difficult rotates. As Cammy, Chari, and iDrop now, great elevation change, getting closer in.
But not many shields there for Cammy. They're going to need a little bit more to work with. So many teams that are going to get trapped inside of these lower layers as the zone just continues pulling up this mountain face, kind of handling the dirty work for the lobby. Savage and Chap lost Reason along the way. iDrop, no shield. Harry, no shield. And Cammy, incredibly low. But they're just going to have to go for the fight. Even with being above on the surge damage threshold, they need a refresh more than anything right now. And iDrop, he's not going to have a chance. He's going to be collected along the way here. And Cammy trying to see if he can resync now with Airy. They're going to use their last dash sprite to refresh, but they are stuck in the lower layers, and there is no way they're going to get out anytime soon here. Savage and Chap doing what they can to try and surrounding them.
A lot of placement points to be earned in these final moments of the end game, but Cammy is going to be eliminated. Chap and Savage continuing as a duo to stay ahead of the zone. A good amount of materials. They cannot fall down into the hands of a full trio right now as Nev's trying to take angles where they can find them as the zone is going to pull back.
But Nev's, Kiro, Pink, they're just taking care. They're shooting at everybody's toes. Queasy in the misform. He's just flying around, hoping that nobody spots out the fact that he doesn't have any builds left to his name. He is isolated, playing on that backside, Jack relying on his feminist grenade to do what it can for his AP bar, but dashing every which way, still hasn't been picked apart, waiting to see if he can find an opportunity for a possible refresh, a little bit of siphon, anything, and Queasy, same exact mentality. This is feast or famine now in the low ground, and Queasy, he's doing everything to build up just one more placement, but he might get stuck, he might get caught. Can he break through every single pre-existing build? And finally, he's too exposed. A trio in the lower layer is going to take care of him, and now Savage stuck in this midway position.
Meanwhile, Clownski and his trio up and above the perfect zone for them to not be contested a single time on height as it keeps just going back and forth on the mountain. Devastating rotation for the players down below, but a miracle for the trio in the clouds. Issue is they are running a bit low on mats, unable to find as many refreshes, but Nebs, 3 HP, 8 actually in a dream. Hero trying to build above. You cannot get left behind when the zone continues to elevate. But I was talking about it, the high ground retake, it might be coming through, but it seems to be a 1v3 almost, as it's still looking pretty clear.
Boise has so many chug jugs prepared to play this heal off. Savage just trying to do what he can to stay. That's the refresh he needs, but he can't get to it. He can't finish for the elimination. He never gets that. Now fully dropped as the mountain face starts to fall off here following the zone. Clownski still staying alive, staying ahead, breaking down now, trying to see who these last remaining players are in these lower layers. Scary Sean, Wedex, can they make it? But Gabig's gonna be the last one to drop to the bottom floor here, and he finds Scary Sean. The connection has been found, and that is everything for our first lobby winners.
What a tough zone to kick off the day, but in the end, it was Clownways and Gabix that were able to hold on to that height when it mattered the most. Down below, all the players fighting for their life to just stay inside of the zone, but once they closed it out, they were able to secure their spot in the major finals. Congratulations to Clownways and Gabix for playing it by the book and taking height when it mattered the most.
They were really just one of the first teams, too, to actually commit fully towards height. They had a really good read on how these zone pools were just going to work in their favor. And Takada, it's not an easy job necessarily to keep a firm grasp over the high ground, but when you get the job done in this way, Clownski, Waves, Gabix, we will see you in the Major 3 Grand Finals. But for right now, Frankie, Levin, Minnie, what do you got for us?
Thank you very much, guys. That zone was so punishing. I was thinking, which one would you hate more, the water zone or the mountain? And after watching that, I think you've got to go with mountain on this one, Levin. How amazing was it that Gabix's trio were able to hold onto that high ground so successfully?
Well, I mean, I think the zone's part of why, right? It was the easiest sort of situation for them when you have teams and it's pulling back through where it just came from as well, on the mountain, up and down, people investing so much, they are allowed to save so many mats more than what they typically would have. So really, really nice game from them. They did well to take high in the first place, right? So credit to them, but hey, I mean, it's going to be good to see them in the finals. I'll be happy with that one, Minnie.
Yeah, super excited to see them in finals. I think it's a little bit of a surprise. I think we would have expected a little bit of a different team upon height in our very first game. But yeah, very, very treacherous zone for all those down below. But as you mentioned, Levin, it is very, very nice when the zone, I think it was zone 11, zone 10, and even 12, I think, was just pulling all over their pre-existing build. So they didn't have to waste all those materials. You could sort of see it pulling back. And if you do establish that high ground really early on in these mountainous zones, you often do find a lot of success. So ultimately, it is about who can do that first. And these guys just put themselves in the perfect position. A little bit of a wobble, I guess, because one of them, it was Gabix actually that lost a lot of HP, but they were able to sort of dispatch of that solo high ground take. But ultimately, pretty straightforward stuff from them.
Yeah, that's, you know, regardless of the season, the meta, whatever, like we see wins like that on FNCS all the time, right? Mountain zones like that where you're the early high team and you can just hold it from there on out.
Well, it will be the only game that we see Waves, Gabix and Clownski playing today because they have booked their spot in the Major 3 finals next weekend with that golden ticket victory royale. But after the break, we'll be discussing the rest of the lobby. See you in a bit.